I think too many coaches are not successful because they quit too early. I read something one time that said 5% of coaches make it past the 1 year mark. 95% quit before 1 year's up. But I remember talking to a business owner one time. They said, it was about 3 years in before I really hit my stride. And when I heard that and I coupled it with that 95% quit in the first year, it just struck me as like so many coaches are quitting. They're making a decision when they haven't even reached halftime in the game yet.
Welcome back to Coach Factory. I have a treat for you today. This is an interview with one of the Motivation Code certified coaches, Justin Tilghman. And I'm going to let Justin just get right into it and introduce himself. But there are so many insights in this interview about coaching. I know you're going to be delighted. There are timestamps down below, as well as some links to where you can find Justin online. So without further ado, let's just get right into the interview. Justin, thank you so much for joining me here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Kathy. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I have been looking forward to our conversation since we met a couple of weeks ago. I'm really interested in learning more about your coaching business and how you're working with other coaches. But for our audience, why don't you just give sort of the overview you gave me of who you are, what you do, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Justin Tillman, and I have a private coaching practice called Balance Coaching and Consulting. And the main thrust of the work that I do is with individuals, leaders, teams, organizations around emotional maturity, around relational interaction, and then just around people's core sense of identity. Because what I found that most of the issues we run into probably circle around one of those things where we have difficult conflict because emotionally we're not in the right spot, relationally we're not in the right spot, or just as individuals, we don't have a full grasp of who we are, how we were created, how we're wired, and that's causing conflict with other people, or at least keeping us from not being able to operate as as well as we'd like to. So that's kind of a 30,000 foot view of the work that I do.
Sure. Yeah, people kind of get stuck in patterns or
Hmm.
things that used to work in the past may have worked when they were kids, but as they get older, the patterns don't really allow them to be fully present in their relationships.
Oh yeah, I've seen it in my own life, but I also see it in working with clients that we develop tools along the way to help us function, and we eventually hit a spot where that tool is no longer helpful, or the tool needs to be updated. And I kind of like the old adage goes, if all I have is a hammer, everything's a nail. It's kind of how that works. If this is the only way I have of coping with this or getting through this particular situation, then I'm going to see everything through that lens. And life is just not that simple.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always calling us to grow and learn
Hmm.
more and kind of get back to the core self of who we really are, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. How long have you been coaching?
So formally, about 3 years is how long the practice has been established. But I think, like most coaches, once I got into it, I realized I've been doing this for a lot longer. I just didn't know you could get paid for it. So I would say I've been coaching individuals probably about 10 years,
Yeah.
but I've formally had it as a practice and had my shingle out as a coach the last three.
Gotcha. So what made you decide to put that shingle out?
Yeah. So for me, it's a culmination of really a life journey. I've always felt that my calling in life was to help people. I didn't quite know what that looked like. But as I look back with hindsight, I can see that was the pull in everything that I did, whether it was a calling into ministry or a calling into, I was a paramedic for several years, or calling into higher education. I spent about 10 years in higher education. Everything I did seemed to circle around in some way helping people. I personally was never called and felt a calling into business, especially on the profit side. And not to say that's wrong, that was just never the draw for me. So as I wrestled with that, kind of figuring out what am I supposed to do? So I dabble in little things here or there. Again, I do this for a bit and I do that for a bit. Toward about halfway through my tenure in higher education, one of my colleagues mentioned to me, "Hey, have you ever thought about coaching?" And At that time, I said, I've heard of that, but no, that's just not, I don't want to do all that stuff. That just seems a little hokey to me. So I kind of dismissed it. And right towards the end of my time in higher education, that was about the time I transitioned into putting my shingle out as a coach. That conversation bubbled back up when I told her, "Hey, I think I'm going to go do this thing." And she goes, "I told you 5 years ago that this is what you needed to do." And it just, when I really took time to look into it, all the pieces fit. And that's the only way I know how to describe it, is like several things just clicked into place. And it was like, well, Lord, I think this is it. And so I dabbled in, I got some training, got some certification, and started working with clients. And it has been one of those things where it's like, this has been one of the things that I've been prepping for my entire life. Like everything seems to come together. Everything I was looking for and trying and doing, it all coalesced in coaching for me, as well as, I also serve as a pastor. So those two things together have just seemed to lock things into place where it's like, oh, this all makes sense now. So yeah, for me, it was really a culmination of a life's journey. And it just took me a while to figure out what it was.
Yeah, that's great. I love this story. I mean, it's a lot of people that I talk to, they're coaching anyway.
Hmm.
It's just kind of a part of who they are. They're like a really good friend. They have experiences. They're good friends, and
Hmm.
it just kind of translates into being that coach when you add some more of sort of the methodologies and the
Yeah.
frameworks and whatnot. So it just makes
Oh
perfect
yeah.
sense.
I think for me, that was a lot of it. As I look back now, I was often someone that people would say, "Hey, I just love to get your insight on this," or "Would you just listen through this with me? And does this make sense?" Or would say, you know, you listen to me. You didn't try to fix it, but you just listened. Um, and I think all those different aspects. I mean, most coaches would say, "Well, that's part of coaching." Is, we're not necessarily advice givers or insight, but we can ask a question in a way that gets somebody to think about something differently, gives them an insight, gives them a different perspective.
Sure.
Um, and there have been many times, some of my most powerful coaching sessions, I've not said the first word. I've just listened, and at the end, I've had clients say, "Man, that was just so powerful." And I was like, "I didn't say anything." So, but just them getting a chance to get it out, and those are
Sure.
all traits. And as I look back, I can see, oh, those have been in my life all along.
Yeah, yeah. I found that many times in coaching sessions, even and I work with a coach as well, but it's not necessarily anything that's being said to me. It's almost like a question that's being asked, and it's almost like it creates a space that
Mm,
my own sort of intuitive spiritual guidance can speak to me because I'm so busy in my normal day to day that I don't
yeah.
give myself the space to hear what spirit, God is trying to say to me. So just
Oh yeah.
having that time and space, I can hear my own self.
100% coming for me, from a Christian worldview. Like I tell people all the time, God is always talking. It's
Yes.
just the question is, are we listening?
Yes.
And our world, the way our world is, especially a Western society, we're so focused on productivity. And it's not, it's a bad thing. Like, I mean, I believe we're created to work and to do things and to create and dream and build. But we're also created for rest. And so, there is something to, you can't be going 100% all the time, and you can't have that engine wound up all the time. And I think that's a lot of the reason behind why we miss so many things, or we feel so burnt out, or we feel like we're stuck, because we're just not taking time to stop and listen, or ask ourselves questions like, why am I doing this? Why do I always act this way? Why am I always responding to that person that way? And so for me, like, that's a lot of the work I do, is creating that space. Say, hey, well, let's stop. Why do you act that way? You said this is a pattern. Why do you think that is? So just taking time to ask yourself the questions. And I love how you said that space, like just giving that space to stop, take a
Yeah.
breath, and just evaluate yourself.
Yeah.
Well, why am I doing this? Where'd that come from? And if I don't want to do it anymore, what do I do now? What do I do
Yeah.
differently? But it can be scary to ask those questions. And that's why I think coaching is so helpful, because as coaches, we hold that space for people, and we're a gentle, calming presence for them. We're not there to judge them. We're not there to say, "Oh, that's so wrong. Why are you doing that?" We're just there to kind of reflect back to them. I've heard you say that this is something you don't want to do, or this is a habit you don't want to have. Well, what's stopping you from changing it?
Yeah. Now, how do clients show up in your world? Do you do a lot of marketing to get them, or is it word of mouth? Like, how is your business
Yeah.
grown?
Yeah. So for me, it's so I'll do it part-time. So I'm not a full-time coach. But as a part-time coach, I have a full client list. I'm filling up what space I do have, but I've done that in a lot of different ways. I'm on social media, I'm doing typical marketing things, but a lot of my clients have come from either different coaching platforms that I've got a profile on that they'll find me. I've done a lot of keynote stuff, and picked up clients from those events. As those clients have matriculated out, or and not all of them have. Some clients I have now I've had for years, which has been really neat. A different way of looking at coaching as a long term thing. But they've mentioned to people, "Hey, this is a guy I work with. I think he might could help you." So yeah, all those different avenues. I can't say that there's one that's just stood out as that's the way, but that's why I always tell new coaches, like, just put as many lines out there and just see what bites. That has been what's proven true for me, because for me, sometimes what other coaches are doing just doesn't work for me. The way they do messaging, the way they put out, it's not that it's wrong. It's just it doesn't fit who I am. I want to make sure anything that I'm putting out there is aligned with who I am as a coach, so that when people see it and then they get on a call with me, they're not like, "Well, you're totally different than what I saw on social media." But that's what's been helpful for me, is just doing all those different things, but just making sure that what I do aligns with who I am, how I present myself, so that for the client, it feels like a continuity. Okay, you are the guy, you are the same guy that I thought you might be when I saw you on Instagram, or I heard you on that keynote address or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Now, do you, with your social posting, what kind of content are you putting out there? Is it more like production oriented, like, here's my message and here's what I'm saying? Or do you mix it up with some more personal things? Like, how are you approaching social media?
It's a mixture for me. I want to put educational content out there for people, because on one hand, I want to use my social media for them to get to know me as a person. So there's some personal stuff that goes out there. Occasionally, I'll post a picture of my family, and there's no sales pitch in it. It's just like, "Hey, had a great day with the boys. Well, wife and I went out to dinner. Look at this beautiful view," just for them to get to know me. But two, I also use my social media as kind of the first tier of coaching for me. So, if you're trying to determine if I'm the right fit for you, follow me on social media. Look at the content I'm putting out. I want to add value to whoever comes across my path. So not only is it a way for them to get to know me as a person, but I put stuff out there. It's like, "Hey, this is coaching material. This is content. You can use the stuff from my social media and start your own coaching journey without ever getting on a call with me."
Yeah.
Same thing I do with like a newsletter or something like that. Like, here is an easy way to get into the orbit of what I'm doing, at least, and benefit from it. The way I've chosen to do it, there's no pitching in my social media, which some coaches would say, "Oh, you got to pitch." That's just not me. So there's no pitching in it. It's just straight value is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
add. And
Yeah.
and my hope is, and what I've seen play out for me, is that when I'm adding value to these people, a lot of times they say, "Hey, how can I get more?" And again, that's what's worked for me. I'm not trying to shoot down any other coach that has a pitch or anything like that in their stuff. That works, and it definitely is helpful. It's just
Yeah.
for me, I've taken a little bit different route, and it has worked for me. But so on my social media, it's kind of a mixture of both. Get to know me as a person, but how can I immediately start adding value to your life, whether it's a carousel post or short little video reel or something like that.
I love that because I think it's so important. I think on social media, everywhere, people are overwhelmed with information. They're overwhelmed with pitches and offers. And when you can just show up and authentically just be you,
Mhm.
be a friend, provide interesting information or a new perspective or something that just like contributes, it makes you memorable. People remember who you are because you're being authentic rather than if you're a coach and it's just like they
Yeah.
immediately go into this pitch and it's just like swipe. It's like, no, that's the day job. No, I want to look at cats and dogs having fun
Well,
and being right.
and I know
Like,
for me early on as a coach, like, that got frustrating. because it almost felt like a bait and switch. Like you'd have somebody reach out to you and they'd seem super friendly and like, man, this person's helping me. And then inevitably it'd be like, hey, come join my $5,000 coaching program. And it was like, oh, this whole time I thought you were just being nice. And so it put a bad taste in my mouth. And again, I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying for me, the way I understand coaching to be, when I reach out to somebody, I don't want them in the back of their mind thinking there's an ulterior motive here.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell them that I'm a coach and I will offer to help them, but I do so in a way that they realize that has not been the point of this whole conversation.
Yeah.
The reason I add that now is because where we've gotten in the conversation, I think I could help you more. And this is one way I could do it. But if you say no to that, I'm not going to stop talking to you. Like, let's stay in conversation. Let's keep talking. I can't go as deep with you as I'd like to without bringing you on as a client.
Right.
But I, I want you to know that this conversation has been meaningful. I've enjoyed it and it's of value to you. So, and I have people like that in my orbit as a coach who I continuously exchange emails with or messages with who are not clients, but they've been brought in by something I've put out there, and I don't want to turn them away. And I've said to them,
Yeah.
hey, I'd love to work with you as a client. Here's what that would look like. And they've said, hey, maybe not at this time, or I don't know that's what I need yet. But we're continuing to talk via email and via Facebook message or Instagram message. And
Yeah.
again, that doesn't work for everybody. That's just the way I've decided to run my coaching practice. And for me, it's helpful and it's just beneficial because I feel like even when the client list looks low, I don't have this existential crisis because I'm still adding value to people and, just trusting that if they need to be a client, they will be.
Yeah.
But if not, I'm still doing what I feel like I'm called to do, which is adding value to that person's life.
That's amazing. Well, you never know. Even if they say no to your coaching, they might refer you to someone who's right for
And
it.
you're
So,
exactly right.
but that,
That happened. Yeah.
yeah, you have. Oh, cool.
Mhm.
I mean, it's all about developing relationships, really. And
Yeah.
then kind of trusting that when the client relationship makes sense, it becomes a conversation, right?
Yeah. The danger in that approach, again, not saying it's wrong, but I think the sharp edge that can cut you is people are smart and they can sniff out what's true. They can sniff
Or
out authenticity pretty
yeah,
accurately. And so what I quickly came to realize is if you're cold calling me with a pitch, chances are you don't have any clients. So, I mean, and that's not always true, but that just was the first impression that I would get. And so it would start to feel like, well, you're desperate here. And that just brings up all sorts of feelings and emotions and thoughts. And so I just made a commitment to myself early on. I never want to convey that
yeah,
message to a client. Even if I don't have a single client and I'm on the call with you and I desperately want to bring you on as a client, I'm not going to portray that. I'm
sure.
going to leave that in your hands and we're both going to decide if this works. And I've told clients before the end of the call, I've been upfront with them. Hey, I would really like to work with you. I think we could do a lot together, but that's ultimately going to be your decision. And some of them come back and said, hey, not now. It just doesn't feel like a good fit. And that's fine. I don't go home and cry and get all in my feelings about it. But that's just the way I want to present myself to people is I want you to work with me because you feel like it's a right fit, not because you felt pressured into it and not because I've been super savvy in convincing you to be a client. So I'm really conscious to never portray a scarcity mindset when I'm out there on social media, when I'm talking to somebody. That's just been really important to me.
It makes so much sense. Well, I think some of the hard pitches gets into sort of this problem of overpromising
Mhm.
this pie in the sky result type of thing where
Yeah.
it's not in alignment. And then you're also, I mean, the coaching relationship is so much about putting power into the client's hands, right? And
Hmm.
empowering them. So if the sales process is too pushy and they don't feel empowered in making that decision and they're not like proactively making that decision and they're more responding to the offer or the sales tactics, how are we what does that say about the first step of a coaching relationship? It's
Yeah.
it makes it a
Oh
little
yeah. And
challenging. So,
I think you're exactly right. And that to me, that puts pressure on me as a coach to feel like I've got to perform.
sure.
And that puts pressure on my client to feel like they have to perform. And I run into that,
Really.
especially early on, where I was trying to take somebody else's framework and make it fit for me. And I felt so much pressure because in my mind, the client wasn't seeing the progress that I thought they probably should be seeing by a certain point. So I start getting really anxious that they've paid a lot of money. Am
Yeah.
I going to be able to get them where they need to go? I've also had it where clients have been on calls with me and they said, "So sorry, I'm not doing this as quickly as you want me to." And that was like immediately pump the brakes. Like, that's not it. Like, you're not here for me.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. And so we're going to work at your pace and your speed. And so I've shifted even the way that I talk to clients and in an initial consultation with them. I don't ever say, "Hey, it's 6 weeks. I can take you from here to here."
Hmm.
I, I've stopped doing that and I start sharing with them, this is where I think you could go based on my experience with other clients. This is what I think is possible for you. And historically, I've seen clients get to that point in 6 to 8 weeks or 6 to 8 months. So that's what it looks like. But I want to make it clear to them, this is your journey. And so if you get there in 5 weeks, fantastic. If it takes us a year to get there, you are not a failure because there's been no prescribed program. Life is different for each one of us. And so
Yeah.
all I'm going to say to you as a client is I am with you as long as you think it's beneficial that I'm with you. And so if
Yeah.
we get to 6 weeks and, we talked about, we think it might be 6 weeks and we get to 6 weeks and you're like, "Hey, I'm not there." Well, if you feel like I'm still a benefit to you and we're making progress, then let's keep working together. But you've got the ability to make that decision. So if you get to 6 weeks, you're like, "Hey, this is not working. I don't think it's a good fit." Well, then we're done at 6 weeks. And we both understand it's just not been a good fit. But we've committed to what we said we were going to do. But it also leaves that space open for the client, I feel like, to have a sense of peace about, well, I'm not a failure. My journey's looking a little bit different. But Justin has helped me over the past 6 weeks. And so I do want to keep working with him. So some people would say, well, that just kind of leaves things open ended and nobody knows how much they're going to spend on coaching. Well, that's true. That's a possibility, but that's where the relationship comes in. I'm constantly communicating with clients. Like, again, I am here as long as I'm a benefit to you. So if at any point in time you determine that this is no longer working, you're not hurting my feelings by saying, "Hey, let's stop at this point." Now, but also, I've not led you on and promised you that we're going to get there in 6 weeks. I've told you what historically has happened, but you are then the driver's seat. So you determine how long we work together. So that's just the way that I've done it.
I love it. That to me just is what coaching is all about, is to really be the support person on the journey of our client. And I just love it. Now you don't just coach individuals, you also coach coaches. Tell me a little bit more about what you do there.
Yeah. So it's funny. I never thought that would be part of what I do. But just as I've followed the journey as it's twisted and turned, I found that I end up working with a lot of coaches in a couple of different areas, working with them on just confidence building, helping them work through some of the limiting beliefs or blockages that they have as a coach, sharing with them my framework of doing things. I've had several folks that were like, "Hey, I want to become a coach, but I don't know what to do." And I always tell them, I don't have the secret sauce, but I can tell you what I've done. And so walking them through, well, here's how I got where I am. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm a six-figure coach, but I got a full client list. I can share with you what I've done, and you can take from that what works for you and what doesn't. So, um, kind of a mixture of those things with different coaches. Sometimes just mentor coaching them, walking through difficult client sessions and like, "Hey, well, maybe try this next time, or have you thought about this?" Um, Helping them build their confidence and their identity as a coach, helping them maybe discover their niche, walking them through that, or helping them build that business. So it's looked like different things along the way with different folks. But yeah, it's been an interesting and fun little surprise add to what I do to be able to work with coaches. And I enjoy it because I feel so passionately about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if there are more people out here doing this, the better. Because I have several friends that are counselors and psychologists. And I think for so long, a lot of the work we're doing as coaches has been perceived that it had to be in the space of licensed counseling.
Mhm.
And I have so many colleagues in that space who are like, I see a lot of people that really could just benefit from a listening ear and a different perspective. And so what they need is a coach. They don't actually need me to get down and really get into their mess. But that's all they thought was out there.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm like, the more people we can get out there who are listening ears to people, giving them a different perspective, we can actually take a little bit of a weight off of the mental health field who are sometimes seeing a lot of these people who don't need that level of care or attention. And coaching is not counseling. So I'm not saying that, but sometimes people's issues, their stuckness is because they've not had somebody to just process it with
Sure.
and give them a different perspective. So that's been a fun add to what I do, to be able to help other people get into this space and do it and set their stuff up and do it in a way that feels right to them, so that they can then go out and help the people that are in there. Because I tell new coaches all the time, this is why I'm not afraid to work with other coaches, because we're not competing for the same clients.
Right.
The clients that work with me are specifically meant to work with me. I'm not the best coach for everybody. So the more coaches I know, then the more people I can help, because I can say, hey, look, I know somebody that I think
Yeah.
you'd be a great fit for. And so I might not actually coach you, but I've still helped you because I've connected you to somebody who's now going to be able to help you.
Right. And think about all the lives that you're impacting by helping coaches who are working with you up level what they're doing and be more
Hmm.
present with their clients. Your impact has so much more reach because you've kind of
Yeah.
scaled your influence, right?
Yeah. And I always tell the coaches that I work with, by working with you and helping you as a coach, I get to know you. You become somebody that I'm probably going to send somebody to if I can't help them. And I've done that. They're not getting in connection with me to be a referral network, but I tell them, I mean, I've had clients who are coaches who I've been working with, and I've had somebody reach out to me and say, hey, I'd love to come to you for coaching. And I talk to them. I'm like, hey, either one, I don't feel like it's the right fit, or two, I don't have a spot right now, but I know somebody who might be available and might be able to help you. And it just so happens that the client of mine who's a coach.
Yeah.
So to that point, yeah, I get to invest in them as they invest in other people. But again, I just think it helps me be a better coach and help more people, because now I've got people that I know and trust and I'm in relationship with and have a connection to, that I feel confident saying, hey, I think that might be a good fit for you.
Yeah. That's amazing. What mistake did you make or do you see coaches make that like just kind of a rookie mistake if somebody's really new to coaching, like something they really need to watch out for because most coaches are missing the mark on it.
Yeah. I think it goes back to kind of what we just talked about, that scarcity mindset, saying yes to
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah,
I had made that mistake way too many times. And it came out, and it was very early on in my coaching career. And it came out of a fear that I'm never going to get a client. This thing's not going to work. And so I would say yes to anybody that was willing. Hey, if you had a pulse and you were willing, you were going to be my client. And what I found is, by doing that, I actually set myself back in a couple different ways. I set myself back because I filled up a space for my ideal client that now they could not take. I set myself back in that I was actually starting to feel a little bit of a burnout as a coach because I was not enjoying those interactions. I was setting myself back in confidence because what I ended up working with that person on was something I didn't feel confident and equipped to help them with. And all those were things I started to question. Am I meant to be a coach? Am I supposed to be doing this? And the thing was, it wasn't that I wasn't supposed to be a coach. The thing was, I was making decisions that were not right, that were making me think that I was not supposed to be doing this, that I had misunderstood or misheard
mm,
that calling. And what it boiled down to is, it wasn't so much me as it was I was saying yes to everybody and wasn't being discerning. And, well, who am I supposed to coach? Does this feel like a right fit? And so that's what seemed like it was going to help me. Well, I'm going to get tons of clients because I'm going to say yes to everybody. Actually, almost derailed my coaching professional career because I was starting to get burnt out. And
yeah,
when I finally stepped back and said, okay, I'm not going to say yes to everybody, it it felt uncomfortable because, like, well, what am I going to do? if I don't have people coming. And if I say no to these people, then that's a client I'm not going to have. So it was uneasy, but it actually ended up being the best thing for me because now when I brought somebody on, we both felt like it was the right fit. And
Yeah.
so the clients that I have now, I look forward, I get excited when I see their name come up on the schedule when I'm looking at
That's
the week ahead. And it's like, oh, I get to talk to them this week. How much that's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And it wasn't always like that. So now when I get a client, it's exciting. And I know when I get off a call, I'm like, I'm meant to be doing this. And I'm meant to be doing it with that person. And so it's just fun.
wow, that's great. Yeah, I think a lot of times people, well, it's not just in coaching, it's in so many different areas of life. People make decisions with a certain intention, almost like
Mhm.
if you're making a decision based on a fear-based intention of I need to fill my roster, or I need to pay my bills, or I need to do this, or else this other bad thing can happen. And they're sort of like in this fear state. It kind of infuses the whole experience with that.
Mhm.
And then that just drains your energy. But when you make a decision of, yes, I have to do this. This is going to be so much fun. And you're in that state of more of a love versus fear based state where
Yeah.
it's, you really feel like that passion and love and desire and drive, then the experience ends up being that way. It's like how you feel around those decisions really color the entire experience from the get go.
Yeah.
It's
I think that's what's made this such an enjoyable journey for me is it's not that I haven't had a goal or something like that. It's not that I haven't put an expectation out there of something I want to do, but I've not held on to that so tightly.
yeah,
And so, I don't know what this is going to become. I don't know what it will be, but I'm having fun doing it. And
yeah,
so as long as it's fun, I'm going to find some way to do it. Now, in some seasons, that may look like I need to have a part time job while I'm coaching. That's okay.
yeah,
I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm having fun doing it. And
yeah,
I've always told myself the minute this isn't fun anymore, I'm going to stop doing it because at that point, it's no longer beneficial for me, but it's also not beneficial for my clients. So I've tried really hard and it's been a work. Tried really hard to take that pressure off of myself and just enjoy the process of coaching and let it be what it will be. Now, again, I set a goal. One of my goals, I wanted to get to a full client roster. So I'm working at it and I'm doing what I can, but I'm not getting scared or frustrated if it's not happening. I'm just trying to have that uncoached mindset for myself of, okay, well, that didn't work. Doesn't mean I'm not supposed to be doing it. It just means that way didn't do it.
yeah,
Or there's something about the way I did that that needs to change.
yeah,
And that just for me has made it the past 3 years of officially having a coaching practice so much fun. And I think has led to where I'm at today because I think because I've been able to hold that loosely, that I've been able to follow the thread where they go and follow the journey and make some missteps along the way. I have not looked back and said, man, I wish I hadn't done this. It's been a fun journey to walk through and walk down and learn from other people. I have met some of the most amazing people over the past 3 years of just, and I'm an introverted guy.
yeah,
So it takes a lot for me to just reach out to somebody and talk to them. But over the past 3 years of just doing that, and I had somebody tell me the other day, like, how in the heck did you talk to that person? I was like, I just sent them a message. I don't know where that was going to go. I just thought, what the heck? All they can say is no. And if they say no, I'm right where I'm at right now, not talking to them. But I've met some fantastic and interesting people, and that has opened doors. But I've just really tried to approach it from just a free mindset of this is a calling, just walk in it and follow it where it goes. It's so much easier to steer a moving ship.
yeah, for sure. I'd like to ask you about some of your certifications. I know you're motivation code certified.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have
Yeah. So I have a couple different ones. I have two certifications as a life coach and a mental health coach. And I have MCode. I have a couple of the kind of standard, what you would think like a DISC certification, that kind of stuff. I also have a certification in, it's called neuromindfulness. So kind of taking neurobiology and mindfulness and mixing them together. So I went and got that certification. I was a certification junkie early on. I wanted to get as many as I could. And I still have to wrestle with that sometimes because if one pops up, I was like, oh, I got to go get it. But yeah, so those are a couple of other ones that I have in addition to having the M code. M code is the most recent. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What attracted you to MCode?
I think for me, it was, I've done DISC, I've done the Enneagram, I've done Strengths Finders, I've done the Core Values Assessment, all that other stuff, and those were really good. But they all felt like to me they were missing a centralizing piece. And I remember somebody sent me the M code, and so I took it, and I remember when I took it, for me it was like here's that central piece. And as someone who's taken strengths, taken disc, taken just about any personality assessment or strengths assessment you could possibly take, when I took this one just seemed to hit at a deeper level because it wasn't so much about my ability. It wasn't strictly about my wiring. It for me brought together all these different pieces of not just what I do, but why I do what I do.
Mhm.
So why is that a strength of mine? You know, why is my personality show up in that way?
Yeah.
The M code for me helped draw all those together and be like, well, this is why. And, through things like the motivational flow statement and the way the M code works and the combination of story and question was very unique. And I remember when I was trying to get my M code certification, that's one of the things that y'all talk about is that when you take the assessment, it's gonna be different than any other assessment you've ever taken. And I know when I take clients through the M code, that's what I tell them before they take it. I was like, here's what you're gonna do, and it's gonna be different than and every client has told me that this is different than any way I've taken a personality assessment or anything like that, because of the story connection piece to it. But that's what takes it deeper is the client immediately connects the results from the M code to their life story. And no other assessment does that.
Yeah.
They may ask, how do you show up here? How do you do this? Have people said this about you? And that's all good stuff. But the way the M code does it is it connects all of that to immediate life story examples where the folks that take it can immediately see. And that ends up being where they draw this from because they're going back to, hey, how did you see that play out in that story you just told me? And I'm a huge proponent of the power of story.
Yeah.
It's one thing I love about the M code and what drew me to it and is what has made it really my go-to assessment now is that tying together of story and question in a real sense. When somebody takes the M code, they're actually getting coached through the M code. And then you sit down with them and walk them through it. But that to me is what makes it, I think, such a powerful assessment.
Yeah.
Because it draws not just from the logical side, but it draws from that emotional right brain side of story, the nonverbal story side, and brings the two together so that when you see the report that comes out from it, it's it's tied to those stories you've recounted. And you can immediately see an application and immediately see a tie into who you are as a person.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's always so interesting when I do an impact session with someone and they're like, well, I don't really think that I am this. And then we start talking about their story and they're like, oh, wow, yeah, I am this. And I'm
Yeah.
this in so many other areas. And it's just like brings out this self awareness of who they
Mhm.
really are. And they see themselves and sort of, like changes their perspective so much just in that impact session. Now, I'm sure you've seen that too, but how does it change like a longer term coaching relationship? They'll have some of those aha experiences in an impact session, but what are you seeing like longer term of the impact of code with clients?
So long term, it changes the way I talk to them.
Yeah.
Um, One, having taken the M code myself, and then when they take it, I'm able to go back to my M code and say, okay, well, how do I talk to somebody who's motivated that way?
Yeah.
But it helps me too it pretty much gives me a custom made mirror for them so that throughout the rest of our sessions, I can hold their own mirror back up to them and say, hey, if this is a goal you have for yourself, remember how you're motivated.
Yeah.
Remember what that looks like. So how can you set this up so that you can align that goal with what motivates you so that you're much more apt to get it. And I'm holding up their own mirror to them.
Yeah.
So that's how it's helped me long term, is it's given me a really powerful tool in the rest of our sessions together to be able to hold up their own custom sized mirror so that they can themselves feel empowered to see, okay, this is how I get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you seeing that when clients take the code, like their relationships change with significant others and children and work relationships? Is it changing the way they show up?
Yeah, yes, I have seen that. I've seen that give them not only better understanding of themselves, but especially as we talk about, we go through the domains and all that sort of stuff, and they see, as part of the MCode report, they see how they interact with other people. And I tell clients this, I was like, as we go through these domains, even the ones that aren't you, you could probably think of somebody who fits that domain. And I see light bulbs go off for them that, okay, well, this is how think I could probably better relate to that person. And so I do very much see them taking what they're learning from the M code and applying it to the way they interact with people. I always encourage clients, especially clients that are married, I always tell them, hey, have your spouse take it.
Yeah.
Let them do it. And my wife has taken it, and it's changed a little bit of the way that we interact because now I have a better understanding of what motivates her. She knows what motivates me, and even in conflict. And I found, I don't know if this is be the same for everybody, but I have found that a lot of times conflict is directly tied to some of this motivational stuff. You're upset or you're frustrated because you're not able to do something that you wanted to do, so your motivation's being blocked. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so, if you understand what that is, you can navigate that better. And if I know what motivates you, then I can talk to you in that conflict. And again, it's not manipulation, but we talk about with listening all the time. The power of listening is active listening. Am I hearing what you're saying? And are you hearing what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think what the M code helps do is not manipulate somebody else. It helps you talk to them in a way where they hear what you're saying. And it gives you a framework to hear what they're saying. So you're not manipulating them. It's funny. You're not manipulating them. You're actually effectively communicating for the first time.
Yeah.
And so when you've not done that before, it can feel like manipulation, because it's like, wow, I got you to do what I wanted you to do. Well, probably because you communicated it effectively. You haven't manipulated. They've chosen to do it,
Yeah.
but you just actually learned to communicate for the first time. And it's so magical that it feels like manipulation.
Yeah. 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 Well, my husband used to always say that everything's a sales job. He would say to me, "If you want me to take the garbage out, you're gonna have to convince me that I should do it." I didn't
Yeah.
have MCode out, but, like getting your kids to clean their room, it's all a sales job. There's always some level of influence that you're trying to have. So it's probably
Yeah.
not manipulation, but just influencing somebody to do
Yeah.
something in their best interest, like take the garbage out.
Yeah. Well, and influence is all about communication. Um,
Exactly. It
I
is.
mean, you can't influence somebody you can't effectively communicate with. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, that's why I came to that realization after a while of, I'm not manipulating you. I just actually learned how to communicate with you.
Yeah, exactly. We need to learn to communicate language and like play on the same playing field, like understand the people that you're communicating with and what's actually going to motivate them to do the thing that they really want to do, but they might not have the framework or the understanding or even the language to get to
Mhm.
wherever it is that they really want to go. So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you think coaches should know?
Um, the only thing that comes to mind is, hey, is driving home the point I was saying earlier of enjoy it. And I think too many coaches are not successful because they quit too early.
Mm,
I can't remember where it was, but I read something one time that said 5% of coaches make it past the 1 year mark.
wow.
95% quit before 1 year's up. And I just remember thinking about that. And well, why is that? And I think there's a mixture of it. I think there are people out there who sell coaching as an easy job, and it's not easy. It's very rewarding, but it's not easy. You're not just gonna hang your shingle out and you're gonna be inundated with clients. That's not gonna happen. But I remember talking to a business owner one time about, I was starting my own business and what does that look like? And they said, well, it was about 3 years in before I really hit my stride. And when I heard that and I coupled it with that 95% quit in the first year, it just struck me as like so many coaches are quitting. They're making a decision when they haven't even reached halftime in the game yet.
Yeah.
And so one of my encouragement for coaches is commit to it, stick to it, and don't quit early. Um, you know, I didn't really even get a good idea of what my niche was until probably a year in.
Wow.
And so, you know, if I had quit before then, there were several clients that I never would have helped because I've helped them in the past 2 years. So I encourage people to stick with it, to persevere through it. And at a minimum, wait till the 1 year mark. But I still think that's too early. Like, go ahead and say to yourself, I'm going to give this a good 3 to 5 years before I even begin to have the conversation. Is this working? Because I think people will be amazed at what happens from 3 to 5 years of committed, solid work, investment in yourself, hustling through it. I just think so many people that quit early would have been amazed to see what would have happened if they had stuck with it. So I think that's the only other thing I would leave with folks is stick with it, commit to the long haul. And again, 3 to 5 years before you even begin to think about, is this working? And that's a general maxim. It's not going to be a one size fits all, but I have to, in my own experience, and I have to think about all those 95% that quit in the first year. If you had stuck with it, what would have happened?
I have so much to say about that, but we're going to have to talk about that later because we're just about out of time. I feel like you're speaking to my heart, Justin. That was gold. Where can people find you online? I'm going to put all of the links down below, but in case somebody's listening in the car or something, where can they find you?
Yeah. So my website is balancedcc.com. You can also go to the balancedlifecoach.com. They both go to the same place. And pretty much anywhere on social media, you can find me as the Balanced Life Coach. So that's where I hang out.
Okay, and they can find all your socials from there as well.
Yes. Yep. On the website, all
Amazing.
my socials are up there as well.
Amazing. Great. All right. So if you have been listening and you want to get on Justin's list, follow him on social media. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get tons of brilliance because I just heard tons of brilliance in this interview. Justin, thank you so much for joining me today. I learned so much. So I am so appreciative.
Thank you, Kathy. It was a pleasure of mine to be here.
Amazing. We'll see you next time on Coach Factory.